money!
Aemeath returns in Wuthering Waves version 3.5 phase 2, and there's kind of been a heated debate that I've seen online about whether this character is still a good meta pull, which actually is kind of fucking insane if you think about it. This character's only been out for about 4.5 months or something like that. 4 patches, basically, since she released in 3.1. This is a Sentinel Resonator that was the de facto best DPS in the game, and really in 2 different forms also. And it's just kind of insane that she is potentially falling off already. So we're going to talk about how much truth there is to that, whether she might be a good pull for your account or whether she is an avoid at all costs at this point, and anything in between. So before we get to all that, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you guys are taking a peek at my content for the first time, yeah, I do just ask that you allow me to earn your viewership. Every subscription does help a small channel like mine. You can check out some of the other videos on my page. I go through a lot of different Wuthering Waves, character build guides, that kind of thing. I cover other gacha games as well, Neverness to Everness, Genshin Impact, Mongol Stardive, and other new games that come out, all different kinds of stuff. So go check out my channel, see if maybe you can find something that you like over there. I do appreciate you guys so very much. So with that out of the way, let's get into all things Aemeath today. So let's first get into what Aemeath does, and just for returning players or new players or just people that have been, I guess, tuned out for the last 4 or 5 months, let's talk a little bit about what Aemeath has brought to the table since she came out in version 3.1. Aemeath is a Toon Rupture and Fusion Burst DPS, the very first of either of those damage types, and so obviously was front and center in the meta, and also was the Sentinel Resonator, and so we knew that that's what she would be when she was initially announced. This is a character that was not dripped super early on, but when they did start the drip marketing, it came fast and heavy, and there was a ton of it, and suddenly it was like everybody could not stop slobbering all over this character, and everybody wanted her. And a lot of players, especially F2P accounts, pulled for her, and they had to skip both Linné and Mornier in the preceding patch, and so they pulled her and did not have anyone to pair with her. And hopefully some of those players have been able to make up for that by grabbing a copy of Linné or Mornier or Chisa or Denia or whoever, that all of those characters have ran and reran since 3.1. And so there has been plenty of opportunity to get yourself some good use out of this character, even if you didn't initially have it at launch in 3.1. So one thing to note about her right away, as she's rerunning here in phase 2, you need her signature weapon. And so if you're F2P, check your savings of Astrite and make sure that you have enough to get her weapon when you get her, because she is not worth it at all without her weapon. There's not really a good substitute. It's just one of those deals like almost every DPS in the game that I can think of recently, aside from Luke Herson, where the SIG weapon really is quite necessary. And hers is one of the most egregious cases of this. So just make sure that you have the ability to grab the weapon. It's always going to be R1 over S1, even though her S1 is really good as well. We'll get into that a little later, but at any rate, yeah, so she comes out in 3.1, which is about 4.5, 5 months ago, and She's instantly the best DPS in the game, and one of the best DPS we had ever seen in the game up to this point. People were reaching all kinds of crazy damage ceilings, and if you had some sequence nodes unlocked on particularly on her, but then on her support characters like Lene, who was funneling more. The more that you unlock down Lene's resonance chain, the more damage she's able to funnel to the entire team and thus to Aemeath. So things were looking very up in the early days for Aemeath players. And, you know, the crazy thing is that, so we had the Toon Rupture team already fully built when Aemeath came out, because both of her premium supports were available in 3.0. Fusion Burst, we really only had Chisa. And then we got Denia, and suddenly Chisa is like, oh my god, Chisa has some value now. And also, Aemeath has a full second team that's clocking at nearly the same as the Toon Rupture team. So here's the thing. While these teams are still very, very good, there are a couple concerning signs. One of them is that you have a character like Sigrica that came out only one patch after her, and immediately had, at least in the testing that I have done, but in a lot of the stuff that I've seen online and the research I've done, it does seem like it's at this point almost everyone agrees that Sigrica is the better DPS, not by a ton, but by at least a smidge or two. And so how is it that the Sentinel Resonator already gets leapfrogged one patch later? That to me, I found to be a little bit puzzling, and I thought, well, surely when Denia comes out, Aemeath will jump back ahead of her, maybe with Fusion Burst, and then maybe we'll get another Toon Rupture support that, you know, I don't know, power creeps Lene or Mornier, which would be weird too, because they're not old units by any stretch of the imagination either. But nonetheless, that is kind of what has happened. And then you have Hiyuki that has come out, and Hiyuki also, at the very least, is neck and neck with her, if not a little bit stronger after the release of Lucilla. And so you have a very strange paradox here, where Chisa actually, as a character that came out in 2.8, Chisa came out in November. So, and I just did a video. If you want to hear my thoughts on Chisa, you can check out my last video that I released a few days ago about that, which is a crazy situation where Chisa has gone from having no teams. You know, we knew she was going to enable these negative statuses, but we didn't know what, and we didn't know when, and we didn't know with who, and we had no idea how good any of that was going to be. And so Chisa now, you know, almost 10 months later is actually or maybe almost 9 months later, is actually the character that is in more meta relevant teams than the Sentinel Resonator, who came out 2 patches later. Kind of puzzling, don't you think? And so this is obviously a case of, we know this is the case with gacha games, that they do. What happens is the DPS has a much shorter shelf life than the support characters. So, and with Chisa, it's just a little bit more egregious because, like, she actually wasn't very good when she came out. You know, some people were doing some like Havoc. I was throwing her on like a Frolova team because I didn't have Frolova's best support, so I was just like doing some Havoc stuff. Like just sort of trying, you know, brute forcing TOA the side towers, whatever, the side floor fours, whatever. And now Chisa's like on all my best teams pretty much. And like, I would love it if they gave her 3 vigor in End State Matrix. So, but it's got to that point, right, where now they felt compelled to give Chisa an extra vigor point because she's that contested, right? She is one of the most contested supports in the game now, right up there with Shorekeeper and Mornier. And so that development has come out of nowhere. Anyway, so here what sort of prompted me to record this video was I've seen a lot of these kind of questions in Facebook groups or Reddit or Discord. Here, this is from aemeathmains on Discord. Is she still worth it meta-wise? This is crazy that we're even having this conversation. You know? And I'm not even saying that this is like that the answer is no, but I'm saying the fact that the question's being asked on her first rerun is crazy. This has long been a complaint of Genshin players that, you know, a character that like Skirk is, you know, well, in her case, the second best DPS in the game when she came out. And then the next time she reruns, she's been power crept. It really wasn't the case with Skirk too much. Skirk is still really strong. And like Moika infamously was the champ for, I don't know, a full year maybe. And so I kind of thought that would be the case with Aemeath. And so I'm a little bit surprised at some of the way this is shaken out. I don't know if this is intentional by Kuro or if some of it was just, you know, the math wasn't mathing and some of these other characters wound up being stronger than they expected. The Sigrika thing just blows my socks off that they made Sigrika stronger than Aemeath. Because Sigrika is like as good as Frolova in Wiwa. She's one of the best units in TOA, one of the best, like top 2 in End State Matrix every patch, sometimes even without a token or buff, like a direct buff. So kind of insane. So the question is, she's been one of the few characters I liked off rip, and I just got finished with her story as a relatively new player. Love her to death, but with the Mengzhou lineup and legacy units, I want to know if she's still holding up. I don't have Denia, but I did just pull Lene with Static Mist, which, you know, I don't know why you wouldn't use the new standard 5-star pistol, but whatever. As well as S0R1 Yang Yang, so I'm questioning the priority between her and Soy Sauce. I do have Hyuki Premium as well, if that makes a difference. Considering everyone is apparently fighting for Chisa, I don't know if that would include her. Before we read some of the responses and other questions or whatever, my answer would probably be, well, for one, it would be nice to know if OP has Mornier. They did not specify that. Because if you have Mornier, then you've got your Lene and Mornier. You got your Toon Rupture Nucleus. You pull Aemeath and her weapon. And then you don't have to worry about Chisa, who again is the most contested support. And then you can use Chisa with Yang Yang and with Hyuki. But if not, then you're kind of in trouble, right? If you don't have Mornier, you don't have Denia, you know, then you do have Yang Yang and the Hyuki team. So Chisa either has to be with Aemeath or she has to be with Yang Yang, right? The other one is basically fucking useless at this point without her. If you don't have Mornier. Although you could still slap Shorekeeper, I guess, on that team with Lene, but like Lene not having her Sig, It just kind of depends what the level of how much you're willing to invest in Aemeath, right? And so it is sort of a it depends answer, I guess. This person says, since you don't have Denia, but you already have Lene, just pull Aemeath unless you prefer Jingran as a main fusion DPS. Keep in mind that Jingran will need a strong sub DPS such as Yuno, and if you don't have her, then go for Aemeath. Right, so like this is one of the things is like, with a brand new roster of really enticing and exciting characters, it is tough to recommend pulling a unit that is already starting to fall off at least a little bit. And we've got to keep in mind that this is the Sentinel Resonator. So if you think about how many times has Chisa reran in the last, like since Aemeath came out, Chisa's reran what, 3 times? I don't know. It feels like it. Aemeath is getting her first rerun, so we probably won't see her again for another 4 patches. And so, like, if you don't get her now, there's not really even a question of, oh, just get her, I'll get her on the next round. Well, for one, you don't know who's going to be on that banner. It's probably going to be some character that you want, that she's running alongside. And two, by that time, she'll be near a year old and certainly will be, like, damage will be falling off a cliff at that point. This is what we've seen with Kartithia, that Kartithia was already starting to struggle a little bit at the last rerun, which was at 3.0, and 3.4 here, it was like, don't touch her. Do not touch her, right? She's not even really in the conversation anymore as far as meta, like tier 0, meta, top 5, top 6 teams in the game. Aemeath is still in those conversations, and so do not take any of what I'm saying to mean that she is bad or that she is not a meta unit. What I'm saying is that a lot of these patterns are a little bit concerning for me. One thing I will say about Aemeath, and where you can sort of evaluate, like, how good is this unit? How much will she help my account? And what will the biggest question is, what will her future value be? Because that's what you really need when you're pulling units in a game like this, and particularly when you have limited resources, if you're F2P or if you're a low spender, you've got to be thinking all of these types of things through. How much value does this unit add to my account in the next 6 months, in the next 9 months, over the next year? How much playtime will I get out of this unit? Because all of them are, whether it's that you're investing money or whether it's just that you've invested your time and all the asteroid that you've earned, I think either way, the answer is, for Aemeath, she is being propped up by units that are still releasing, or in the case of a unit like Chisa, that has just gotten stronger and stronger, right? But Aemeath has been propped up by a unit like Denia. Denia has come out, and that has picked Aemeath back up a little bit again. But I will tell you that in my most recent end state matrix testing, so a couple nights ago, not only did my Sagrika team perform much better than my Aemeath Toon Rupture team, but also my Luke Herson Toon Strain team got a higher score than my Aemeath Premium Toon Rupture team with Mornier and Lene. And so I was a little bit surprised by that, and I found that just a slight bit troubling. And so, you know, the question being, like, is when the question is this character, that character a must pull? And, a lot of people will say, well, no character's ever a must pull. I almost always agree with that. Right now, I would say Chisa is a must pull. Like, that's an example to me of this. Chisa is a must pull. Chisa is basically like, there will be a unit at some point, even if you don't know who that is right now, there will be a unit at some point that you will want, and Chisa will be best in slot for them. She has gone from a 0 to hero over the course of a couple patches. Aemeath, as a DPS, and as they often do, is trending in the opposite direction. Now, it may not be for several patches, but she is starting to drop off a little bit. So let's see here. This person says she is still good meta-wise. I'd wait for next patch beta since we are getting a tube strain DPS just to see her numbers before you pull Aemeath. If you like her a lot, no reason not to pull. So that's true. If you really like her, there's no reason not to pull, but this person is, the original poster is asking about meta. So it's like, well, you like her apparently, and I do agree. Her story was one of the best in the game. Like a top 2 for me, along with the Lupa main quest. So it's hard for me to just give up on Aemeath, and obviously I will not, and I've invested a lot in my Aemeath team. But I'm saying for you, maybe, this person says, to be honest, your damage has fallen off already compared to some new units, but at the same time, TOA will be getting nerfed soon. Hopefully for more than just one patch, so we can only hope she remains relevant for a bit while more. If you want her to last, try for some sequence nodes as well. And that is one other thing I might say, as much as I've been kind of dogging her a little bit or down on her, I will agree with this person that you could always, if you're fortunate enough or lucky or whatever to do this, you could invest in her S1 or S2. They are among the best sequence nodes in the game. Her S1 is maybe the best S1 in the game. Her S2 is one of the best in the game. Her S3 is completely transformational. It's just, yeah. So, if you want more detailed information about that, please do go check out my Dolphin's Guide to Wuthering Waves, a vertical investment guide. And that was a video I made like 3 months ago, but I believe it is the video pinned to my YouTube page. If you just go to my main page over there, you can find that video. It does, I think, have some nice, good, specific information about many characters, specific sequence nodes, and we kind of do go down at least halfway down the resonance chain, and I do cover in-depth Aemeath's S1, S2, and S3 to give you a pretty good feel for how is this character going to perform if you want to invest a little bit more. And so all hope is not lost here. I think that Aemeath can continue to be propped up by new characters. I think we are going to get more. We'll probably get another Toon Rupture type of support, because sub DPS character that I think can contribute to Aemeath's damage number or increase her damage ceiling. I can't say that for sure. I don't know, but I think that we're going to continue to see some units that might prop her up for a little while longer. And if not that, then like Fusion Burst is still a brand new reaction. Now, we're also going to get another Fusion Burst DPS. I hate to say it to you. But we will also get a support that's going to, I think, keep her relevant. She's going to be in that conversation for the next, probably until she runs again. And then kind of like with Cartithia, she's going to run again. And like right after they run her, she's going to get power crept really hard. That's generally how this whole song and dance goes. And so I would say, if you're interested in this character, if you've been wanting her but weren't able to get her the first time, Now is as good a time as any to get her, because she probably will not have a whole lot of relevance by the time she reruns again. So don't quote me on that, but if history repeats itself, as it often does in these games, that is my prediction, is that she will continue to be in the tier 0 conversation for the foreseeable future until around the time that she reruns again. And then as soon as they bait people into pulling her again, she will fall off a cliff and be dead in a ditch somewhere along with your account. So don't let that happen. And yeah, if you want to continue to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on with some of these characters, I invest in them so that you don't have to. I wind up dead in a ditch somewhere so you don't have to. And I will learn the hard way so that you can learn the easy way by watching my content. So again, please do remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think, if you agree, disagree. And let me know what else you want to see me cover. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you. Adios until the next one.